Ahoy and a spirited hello. Welcome to our kooky town, the Bizarre AF. I am your host, Alicia, and I am with my host, my co-host at the most, Kevin. How are you? Boo-hoo-hoo, honey.
Hi, girl.
You're looking awfully spooky today.
Look spooky.
Yes. So who is this guy that you are?
I don't know his name. But he is dead.
Oh yes, he's very dead. Kind of demonic too. It seems.
Yeah,
like.
he's not real super happy. Like not a pleasant person.
No. He's wearing rags. He has really long hair. I don't know how he manages that.
Yeah, it just never
gray hair
fell out.
It never fell out.
Never fell out.
Ooh, like
his lips are a little dry.
Yes, slightly dry. Looks very parched.
Little tired.
Yes, slightly. Yeah, you have bags and really dark circles.
Real dark
circles. Black circles.
And just kind of like haunting the world. I mean, not haunting necessarily, but just exploring and trying to engage.
Terrorizing.
Yeah, some people, but mostly just, observing.
Yeah. Okay.
Checking out the world.
Gotcha.
Okay.
I'm just a world traveler.
Exactly.
Well, I think
you look great too. What are you up to? What are you What are you doing?
You know what? I am Madam Alicia, and I'm here to read your cards and the Ouija board. I thought that since we're talking about spirited communication today, I thought, hey, why not be a medium?
It's so perfection. Let me just tell you that right now. I love it.
I'm kind of digging this, and actually, all of this is from my normal wardrobe.
Oh my god!
Isn't that funny? Like I've worn this. Is like
you have that in your closet.
I have this in my closet, and I've worn it out multiple times. Same thing with the jewelry and stuff. So I guess I'm not too far off.
And we have a special guest with us.
We do. We have our special guest over here.
His name is Mr. Ittalive. Mr. Barry Ittalive.
Hey, Barry. How you doing?
Barry,
can you speak up?
Okay. Alicia, I think you put too much stuff in his cocktail. I mean, I know we had to chain him down because he was a little out of control.
He was a little bit out of control. I did give him some absinthe, and you know what that can do to your brain.
Great. So now he's just going to be a zombie this whole show.
Oh, Barry, I'm sorry. I'm kind of sorry, not sorry, because you were kind of a dick earlier.
He was. Well, maybe we'll come back to him.
Yeah, definitely.
We'll see how he comes along later.
I think you look great.
Thanks.
I love it. And I'm super excited to do today's episode. And before we start, okay, just like any other episode, I ask that you guys keep an open mind, a skeptical ear, but keep on listening to the facts as we take you on our newest journey.
Yes, which is
spirit communication or spirited communication or talking with the spirits. That's what we're talking about today. This is actually one a topic that we both decided would be really fun to talk about during the spooky season. So we're both going to take turns in discussing different types of spirit communication that we've actually had past experiences with. So the types that we're discussing are the Ouija board, tarot cards, automatic writing, and let's see, mediums.
Yes.
And the ways that mediums communicate.
Lots of ways to communicate with other energies.
Exactly, totally. And there's more than what we're discussing today.
Sure.
So
ultimately,
this world that we live in has more questions than it has answers. And though that's typical for many of the topics that we do discuss here, I think that this is a topic that we can confidently say we have less explanations than usual.
Exactly. And I'm going to start off by saying that I fully believe in all of this.
Yes.
I don't think any of it is so if you guys listened to our previous episode of DIA conspiracies, there was things in there that I'm like, BS.
Totally. Yeah. It's funny to me actually that you're like, okay, I'm so on board. I mean, it's good. It's a good thing because you were like, this conspiracy theory is all bullshit.
Yeah.
But this, you're like, oh yeah, no,
Yeah,
I'm so into it.
1,000% into it.
And I'll say, you know, as well, I do believe that there is something more. I can't put my finger on it, but I'm gonna, you know, try to play a little bit more devil's advocate. So we have,
We're supposed to. That is our job.
Right. Yeah. That's in the Bizarre AF. That's what we have to do. So,
Yeah.
you know, ultimately we've all heard of, you know, these different forms of ghostly communication. I have one here, which is the Ouija board. I actually have the Ouija board here.
Let's see. Let's try this. Well, you can kind of
There
see
we go.
it right
Yeah,
there.
you can see it here. So it's a form of communication that I wanted to share with you. Now, the board in front of me has a branded name, which is the Ouija board. And what these were originally called were spirit boards or talking boards. And the boards were originally thought of as your run-of-the-mill board game, you know, like Chutes and Ladders or the Game of Life, a game that you would go with your family after church on Sunday and play, which is kind of hard to believe, right?
Let's go talk to spirits. Yeah. So I don't want to interrupt, but do you know is a Ouija, however you say that, is that a brand? What is that
That's
word?
a brand.
Do you know?
It's a brand name.
Oh.
So it's a brand of, and you know, you can look and people have a gazillion different ways or reasons that it's called Ouija. A spirit came and told the person this is what it should be, or it stands, every single letter stands for a different, you know, it's an acronym for something.
Okay.
Ultimately, it's a brand name. So we do have other spirit or talking boards. Ouija was really the one that kind of took off, and I'll talk a little bit more about that.
Okay.
So, so like I said, it was basically a board game, and it was just a fun pastime. People didn't really take it seriously. It's kind of like, you know, the cootie catchers where you'd ask like, you know, pick a color, you know, whatever. It's that kind of stuff.
Cootie catcher. Oh my God, I haven't heard that word in a long time.
Yeah, I should have made one.
Does everybody know what that is? That's when you do the
choose a color. Then you spell the color out.
Yeah.
Choose a number.
Yeah, exactly. And then you open it up, and then
Or like a magic 8-ball. That's kind of like the idea of the Ouija board. Like people just did it for fun. So it didn't have those spooky connotations that it has today. It was just a fun thing. So there have been some form of talking boards since 1100 AD in China. So it was called actually Fuji. Which meant planchette writing. It's the same idea. So it was used to speak with the dead, necromancy, really. So we're talking with the dead using a planchette, and it had incredibly specific rules. You had to be rituals, regulations. You had to be trained in it. Not everyone could do it, and it was really actually outlawed in China under the Qing dynasty. So. Ultimately, it has a history, the Ouija board, or some form of the Ouija board. So let's just get back to the talking board that we know of today, this guy. They were really very popular and began to gain momentum with the spiritualist movement, and practitioners in the 1890s were using these talking boards as a means of communication. Have you heard of spiritualism, Kevin?
Spiritualism.
Yeah, it was like a movement. Have you heard of it?
Spiritualism. I don't know. Maybe I feel like I have heard the word, but maybe I don't know exactly where it originated or what its true meaning is. Maybe. Yeah,
it was totally a. I'm going to be honest. I think that we're going to discuss it and deep dive into spiritualism on a future podcast of the Bizarre AF. Really, it's strange, and I could talk about it. We could talk about it for hours, but that's not this episode.
So quickly, I feel like when people say, "What do you believe in?"
Yes,
I normally would say spiritualism as opposed to God or whatever. I'm spiritual.
Yeah.
Is that kind of what that comes from?
Kind of.
Okay.
I think that if you ask someone who was into spiritualism back in the 1890s, I think that you would have these folks who would say, yes, I am a spiritual person. They're not prescribing necessarily to a specific brand of Christianity or Catholicism or, you know, you name Protestant, whatever the topic is. They're not, it's more of there's more here, right?
Uh-huh.
And they had like specific things that I'll tell you.
Okay.
So ultimately, the movement was very popular around the time that these board games came out. And it was really a religious or belief system that put a lot of importance in the direct communication with spirits, like in spirits of the dead. So it was like, okay, let's talk to the dead and ask them questions.
So that must have rapidly become very like Satanism, witch, bad.
Well, you would think so, right? Because that's how we know it.
Uh-huh.
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay.
it was almost like, you know how we had pseudosciences and stuff? Like, okay, we have pendulums. We have these ways or means of communicating with the dead. People always kind of believed in them anyway.
Mm-hmm.
The thought really was that the dead could help those living and that the living could also help the dead evolve. But in order to do that, they needed a means to talk. So how are we going to communicate with each other?
Right.
Cue in these talking boards
Uh-huh.
or spirit boards. The movement, takes a shining to these boards, the Ouija board, and like All American Dreams, a business person sees a gap in the market, right?
Of course.
And it really means dollar signs. So he sees there are people,
course.
it's really, really popular movement. People are really into talking with the dead.
Yeah.
I can make a couple bucks off of it. So I'm going to do it. That's
Sure.
where this Ouija board came from. So
Okay.
between the religious movement and the distribution of the boards, it gained a ton of popularity, even featuring in a Norman Rockwell
Really?
illustration in May of 1920. There's an edition of the Saturday Evening Post, and it has a man and a woman playing a Ouija board, and we'll have the pictures and actually an article that I had read on the Saturday Evening Post, which actually is still around, and it's a website now.
Oh.
But Norman Rockwell, Americana.
Yeah.
1920 had a picture of
Painting
people,
a Ouija board.
a Ouija board, people playing the Ouija board.
Wow.
So, which is pretty crazy. One of my favorite, actually bad 1980s movies was a movie series called The Witchboard. Have you heard of that one?
I haven't.
No, it
I am like
terrified
an
me.
80s
You're an 80s.
expert.
Yes.
So I can't believe I haven't heard that.
Well, I do in the show notes. I have a link to the trailer, and it's awful and good.
Yay.
Yeah. So we can watch the trailer.
Okay.
Check it out. We were talking a little bit about the history of the Ouija board. Have you ever had an experience?
So I have. Here's the problem. Mm-hmm. So yes, I've used a Ouija board.
Yes.
I never knew or know if it's legit. Mm-hmm. Like I know that I don't move it.
Right.
But I never know if someone else is like literally like effing with me.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Because you're typically touching the board with other people, right?
Yes, exactly. We're all kind of lightly touching the
Planchette.
Thank you.
Planchette.
Planchette. Mm-hmm. Okay,
Yeah.
yes. And so everyone will slightly touch this board, the planchette, for those that don't know, which I'm demonstrating on the video. And by the nature of everyone's energy touching this planchette, it will, the spirits that you're speaking with can communicate.
Yes.
And so, as I mentioned, I never know if I've never been convinced that somebody else that I've been doing that with isn't literally pushing the board or pushing it.
Uh-huh.
So to answer your question, yes, I've used it. Mm-hmm. I don't know for certain if I've actually communicated with a spirit that way.
Okay. Do you want to use it now? I'm kidding. We're just sitting here.
Our
The rest of
audience would be like so bored.
They'd be so bored. I mean, I'm going to get into a little bit more of the psychology behind behind a Ouija board, but I've had multiple experiences as well, and I don't really know what to think of it. I've had some things that have come up that I can't explain, which I'll briefly touch on a little bit later. But this board in front of me, it's actually, was bought at a big box store. It's really a piece of cardboard with a sticker on it.
And isn't that just it? This has nothing to do with anything. No. It's just it's a tool.
It's a tool or a means for communication. Is the idea, right?
Yeah, right.
I mean, ultimately, this planchette, has that little let's see, the little window in front of it, so you can kind of see the letters that are that it's pointing to. So there's no question about what the letter is that you're doing, and like you were saying, the idea is that you concentrate, you communicate with those from the great beyond. And if you were like me at a sleepover party, you would ask about, what is my grade going to be at the end of the semester?
Right. Does Bobby like me?
Exactly. Which, am I ever going to meet in sync? My true loves? So if we go...
Does Greg have a big penis?
Does Greg have a big penis? Does Greg like me? Well, Greg... Never mind. So if we go by the idea of the spiritualist movement, we would be speaking with the dead by maybe helping them, or God forbid them helping us to understand what life and like what happens afterwards. This is something I really don't have any issues with, but it's the scary stories and the tales of boards coming back after they've been fucking burned or whatever that scares the shit out of me,
Oh, okay, yeah, because that's a whole nother.
That's a totally different one. Yeah,
yeah, that's something else.
So, and that's the thing. It's like if you just look at it as a piece of cardboard with a sticker, it's not a big deal. Whatever,
right?
Like could be a fun game. But when you hear these scary stories, that's the thing that scares the shit out of me. There's actually an infamous spirit named Zozo that people talk about, and we're talking about on the internet forums for years, like saying, hey, this is evil. Have you guys had any issues? It's caused harm to people. People have died. It's had all of these, it's basically like an omen and maybe potentially a demon that's going to be following you.
But can I say,
Let's do it.
Have some, yeah. So I think with anything like this, that your intention is everything.
Absolutely.
And unfortunately, people associate Ouija boards with devils and evil people because I guess that's the exciting thing, and that people that do it, that's their intention.
Right.
Whereas if you want to engage with something like this, and I've read this repeatedly, there's a little preparation involved.
Yes.
And setting your what's the word? I just said the word before. Intention. Thank you. If you're setting your intention and your energy in a certain way, then the chances of that crazy shit happening are nearly nil.
Slim. Yeah.
Right?
Yes. I also think like when you're using anything, you can't know what other people's intentions are, right? Like unless you're super clear cut, you have specific rules. Like if I, even though I'm like, I don't know what's up with the Ouija board. Do I believe in it? I'm still trying to figure that out. But I have specific rules if anyone touches a Ouija board with me. Like, and it's like, hey, one person's in control. That's what they say is like, if you're using it, one person's asking questions. You have to end the session and start the session in a specific way. Also, don't be a dick,
Right.
Because especially if there is something that you're communicating with.
Hello.
Yeah, you don't want something to be aggressive to you.
Hello. Yeah. God, you're fucking with the unknown.
Right,
like,
exactly.
Have some responsibility.
Yeah, have some kind of responsibility. So this Zozo character that has been infamous.
I've never heard of.
You've never heard of?
No.
I haven't. I've had an experience with it.
What?
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay, I have so many questions, including why, but we.
I didn't even, so it's funny because, yeah, like I was touching the board with other people and I don't move it. I barely put my fingers on it and it did Zozo as the name. I don't know what to say. I didn't really even know of of this infamous spirit until I had actually listened to a podcast. People were like, have you heard of Zozo? I'm like, actually, yes, I have. And the only two times it had come up were with two people who had kind of dark, and I didn't really know, but they had struggles.
Whose intentions were not of the purest.
Or had issues, right? Like maybe not the purest of intentions, or maybe were easy to, I don't know, maybe
come
to
through,
manipulate. Yeah.
Manipulate, yeah.
So, and I didn't know that, which is why now if I ever use something like that, I know the people I'm using it with.
Yes. Yeah.
So this bad luck Zozo character was such a phenomenon that actually Hollywood made a movie called I Am Zozo.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was like a huge thing. And ultimately, it's about a demon, and, you can check it out online. It doesn't have great reviews. I haven't seen it, but it was so popular and so well known that they actually made a fucking movie in 2012 about it.
Gerd.
I know. So ultimately, really the question is like, how the heck does the planchette move and spell out things that end up making sense? And how is it that, all these people have had a similar experience and with an entity of the same name? And this was pre-internet, and then people started posting on forums, and they're like, what is this? How is everyone having this like collective experience with the same entity that ends up doing bad things, or people get sick, or whatever the case may be?
Yeah.
Do you have any ideas, Kevin? Like how is it that everyone is experiencing the same shit?
So this is where I get my skepticism, is like, when you start posting it, people are aware of it, and then it just kind of propagates. Like, oh, did you hear Zozo? Oh yeah, we're gonna do this thing. I'm Zozo. You know what I mean? Like, I get very skeptical about again with this thing. I'm not convinced. I think that this is a true tool.
Yes.
I think that it can be used to truly communicate with energy. Mm-hmm. I have zero question about that. I am skeptical of the people doing it real.
Yes. Yeah.
I never know when, in fact, you are communicating with Zozo, or when, in fact, you are with someone who is just trying to F with you.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's like, what are the intentions? What are people actually, what are they trying to get out of it?
I want to do this, but I want it to be real. Like, I really want to do this.
I know.
And I want it to happen.
Yes.
And I want it to be like real.
Yes. Like totally real. And, but also like, here's the thing. Another thing I was thinking about is like, potentially we could be, if you're touching the Ouija board on Halloween, you just want to kind of get scared and get freaked out or
There's
spooked
that
out,
too.
Right?
Sure. I mean, tis the season.
Right. Like sometimes
but
you just
I don't want to open some door to some not good shit either.
Oh, I completely agree with that. And so I go back and forth just like you do. Ultimately, the quick, fun answer to, how is everyone having this experience? How is it actually moving? What's going on? The quick, fun answer is that ghosts are moving it, and it's a spirit world, and we can communicate with them.
Great.
Which is great. But the complicated one is the ideomotor effect. Have you heard of that?
No.
So essentially, it's a phenomenon where sensory stimulus can unconsciously initiate physical action. So even if you feel like you don't have conscious control over the planchette, really the not so glam and spooky idea is that we have these involuntary movements.
That's making people do it. That's not really a ghost.
It's not really a ghost, and we're actually moving it. So like when you have the planchette moving in your hand and rotating around the board, you think that you have no control.
But you're doing it.
But you're still moving it. And you don't know what the planchette is going to be pointing to, but you have an experience on how it is going to move and can unintentionally or seemingly unconsciously spell out words to cause it to say something.
I get that. I think that is very, very valid.
Yeah. And I think I think that like we try to make sense of things, right? Like that we can't understand. So if we're trying to make sense of this and we're moving this around, it says B, even if you're fucked up or whatever, you're trying to make it move around, you're going to kind of move it slightly to a letter that might make more sense, right?
Yes, right.
And say buddy instead of whatever.
Sure. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
That makes no sense.
Yes.
So, you'd be spelling out words to cause it to say whatever it is that you think that it might be. And it's kind of an interesting phenomenon because you're typically touching the board with another person. ultimately, I think that the Ouija board, it's a freaky looking thing. And though the science, if you choose to take that route, says that you're just moving your hands around, I don't see harm in getting a little spooky or scared.
Well, that's just it too.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I don't see that harm in that either.
There's no harm. And like,
unless you're legitimately like unbeknownstly opening some portal.
Sure.
Or
like,
whatever.
don't do shit like that, right?
Yeah.
But like, if you're just wanting to get a little spooked with your friend at a sleepover or like at a party, or
have fun.
Yeah, have fun. And, you know, I think that it can cause you to potentially learn a lot about yourself or learn a lot about and create a fun story with friends.
Totally.
So I don't know, just like you're saying, it's rough because I want to believe. I really want to believe, but I'm just I'm not convinced that it's as spooky as Witchboard, the movie in the 1980s, had me believe.
Or The Craft. Did you ever see The Craft?
I loved The Craft.
That show.
Oh, so good. Yeah. If you've not seen it, it is so worth checking out. So that, you know, I thought that's a pretty brief overview on the Ouija board.
That's a good
We
one.
can most certainly like have an entire episode of any of these podcasts.
Any of these subjects.
Or any of these subjects for a specific podcast. But yeah, I just thought a brief overview would be good. So what do you? It was
great.
Yeah, thanks. What are you going to talk to us about next?
Well, the thing that I have, so I have kind of working experience is the wrong word. I've interacted with mediums and I've interacted with spirit writing.
Ooh, okay.
Also known as automatic writing.
Yes.
And automatic writing is also called psychography.
Ooh.
It's kind of a fun word.
Yeah, that is really fun. I like that.
And I think, so let me get to my notes.
Yeah.
So psychography is a physical ability for allowing a person to produce written words without consciously writing. And so the idea is that you're holding a pen and on a piece of paper, and you're not consciously writing any words, but similar to the Ouija board, you are allowing something else to communicate with you.
Yeah. So it's like a pen and paper?
Like just a pen and paper.
Okay.
So scientists and skeptics consider automatic writing to be the result of the ideomotor effect, which is exactly what you were talking about with this.
The Ouija board, yeah.
The Ouija board.
Where we're unconsciously moving.
Exactly, making subjects makes motions unconsciously. That's right. So although purported communication with the dead is ancient, modern spiritualism supposedly began, they're saying, in like 1848, from what I was reading, in New York, reportedly two schoolgirls, one named Maggie and one named Katie, they pretended to communicate with a ghost who identified himself as a murdered peddler.
A murdered peddler.
So 4 decades later, the sisters then confessed that they were completely tricking people, and they were demonstrating how they were doing this whole spirit writing and how they were creating these like wrapping effects, which we'll talk about in a second, which is how the spirits would indicate that they were done writing. Which is slightly different. So there's different forms of spirit writing, which again we'll talk about in just a second. Harry Houdini was infamous for exposing the frauds.
Yeah, charlatans.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
He loved doing that. Okay, so there's 2 kinds of writing techniques. One is called automatic writing, and that is where writing's produced without control of the conscious mind. That's sometimes called trance writing.
Ooh.
And in that kind of writing, an entity or a spirit guides your hand to produce the communication. So it literally is guiding your hand to write out the words.
It's like Ghost, like with Patrick Swayze, you know?
Yes, exactly. Like, moving it.
I'm down.
Yes, exactly.
I'm down if it was Patrick Swayze. Patrick, come on down. You can definitely
sit behind me and guide my hand.
Guide my hand.
So the other type of spirit writing is known as slate writing.
Okay.
Okay, in this form, the entity itself wields or writes with the tool. So in the day, that was chalk on a piece of slate.
Oh.
Okay.
Well, hence slate writing.
And slate writing. And so what they would do is they would take that piece of slate, they would take a piece of chalk, put it on a slate, they would hold it under the table and press it up against the table, and the spirit would write with the chalk, and you could hear it write, and then it would rap. And you would know that it was done writing, and you would take the slate out, and it would have the words.
Okay. Couple questions here.
Yeah.
Right? So you're saying that they would put the actual, like piece of chalk up against the table. So we have the table here.
Yes.
And then here's the chalk.
Yes.
And then
the slate.
And then we have the slate.
Slate underneath.
So,
yes.
So okay, here, wait.
Yes,
Let me see
exactly.
here. Okay.
Yeah.
So you
like
have
that.
it like this.
Yep.
So, okay. And then between here, it's moving it like that.
Yes.
So someone's hand's underneath the slate.
Yeah, and the idea is that you have both the psychic or the medium,
Yes.
and the person who is receiving this message both holding that piece of slate.
Okay. Okay.
Letting the spirits write.
Where's Harry? Where's Harry Houdini?
Yeah, where's
I feel like, I mean, okay, so here's the thing. I always question anytime you can potentially be making money off of anything.
Of course.
Because I'm assuming these people are not doing it out of the kindness of their hearts. Hey, I have this gift that I've been given.
Yes.
I am trying to help people.
Yes.
You know, people have bills to pay. Maybe that's how it starts. Then they end up saying, "Oh yeah, you're deeply bereaved, and you know you're going through all of these emotions.
Take advantage.
And
then, by the way, you need to call me back every week.
Oh, yeah.
We need to communicate
service
every week.
Yeah, because you can't get this communication. You need it through me. And so because of that, yeah, I have to charge you. And then all of a sudden people are in the poorhouse. Like, so that's I don't know. That's something that I question.
That's the other thing that makes this so hard is when people are legit.
Yeah.
And making money off of it. What's the guy's name who is a very real psychic on TV?
John
the
Edward?
young guy. The young guy.
Tyler.
Legit.
Yeah.
Bitch legit.
Tyler something.
Okay. No, that bitch legit. And he's making money.
Sure, yeah.
I'm sure he's making good money.
Yes.
So,
He's
but
adorable.
people question that.
Yes.
And they go, oh, okay, you're just a little money maker.
Well, I think
that's what sucks.
that is what sucks. I think that, you know, we all have to make some dough. We both have day jobs.
We have to live.
Yeah, we have to
and
live.
my talent happens to be I can talk with spirits.
Yeah, so I might as well make a couple bucks.
But then you got the people, like you said, that are like, okay, let's hold this piece of chalk against this slate.
Right. There's a magnet in the chalk and a magnet on the table that we're actually moving that you don't know about. And it says, I love you. Mm-hmm. Don't stop what you're doing. Whatever the case is.
Sell your stock.
Sell your stock and give it to Madame Leota. You know? Like, I think... I think that it's good to have a skeptical mind, because when you're in a different headspace, like when you're grieving, we've both understood what grieving's like. You know, you're so vulnerable, and it's taking advantage of that.
Yes. And I feel like back in the late 1800s, early 1900s, I feel like that was done a lot.
Yeah. Yep. Spiritualist movement. It was part of the spiritualism.
Okay, yeah. Uh-huh. There you go. Okay. So let's flash back for a moment.
Okay.
To the 1800s.
Ooh.
And so, oh gosh, I just lost dramatic effect because I lost my space. Hold on, now I'm gonna have to have some music. Hold on, let's do this. We're gonna go bloop, and we're gonna go bloop, and then we're gonna go. Hold on.
Ooh, fun.
I have a little music.
Ooh, spooky.
Because I'm because I'm spooky like that.
I think that I think like when it comes to I think this automatic writing stuff is so interesting, and when it comes to this topic, there's so much there's a lot of charlatanism, but also it's like maybe you could.
Well, let me say this, that my mom and I did this when I was young.
You guys used to actually
spirit write.
Wow, how old were you?
Shoot, I was single digits.
Single digits. So you were like 8.
Yes. And I actually remember holding the pen with the paper, and my hands were making big strokes. And I actually talked to my dad about this, and he remembers it. And he remembers it more than I do, actually.
Okay.
Where it would spell out words, and you would ask questions, and like words would come out.
I wonder if your mom or your dad have like any of the writings that you did.
I don't think they do.
That would have been cool and creepy.
It would be cool.
When you were doing it, I have a couple questions for you about this. So when you were doing it, like you and your mom would do it together?
Yeah.
You both have separate?
We'd have separate pads and pens. And I think she was the one that kind of introduced me into it. Mm-hmm. Yes, but it was a whole separate, we would do it separately.
Okay, so you guys were doing it separately. And would you be asking the same questions? Or would you just be like in a like kind of meditative trance state, and you're just...
Good question. I feel like it was an out loud question. Again, I have a hard time remembering this activity.
Sure.
I do remember one time, I do specifically remember my hand moving in big kind of loops. That's about all I remember from this activity. Mm-hmm. But I think that we were, in fact, speaking questions out loud, like do whatever. I don't remember what the questions were. I can't even remember what we would ask or why we would ask. But I do kind of remember asking them out loud, and my hand moving. And then sometimes it would kind of get small and then move, and then you'd look, and sure enough, there was
some writing.
Like some writing. You could read it.
Did it look like your own writing, or did it look like it didn't look like your own writing?
No, because it was
interesting.
Big, kind of large and loopy and different.
Did you?
It wasn't like me going bloop, 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 bloop.
Right, like making a concise
right.
So it was like never ending, endless, like never
endless, like touching the pad with the pen with the paper.
Almost like a never ending end.
Yes.
Or like line, never ending line. Okay,
yes.
So when you were doing it, did you feel like you were in a trance state? Did you feel like you were being guided? Do you remember any of that? That might be.
That was just it. I didn't remember feeling different.
Okay.
And I seriously do not remember intentionally writing anything. Like I don't remember going, oh, I'm gonna write. You know what I mean? Like I don't.
Would you ask the questions? Or
yes.
Would your mom be? You would ask questions like, "What kind of dog am I gonna get next?" or whatever.
Yeah, I'm really trying to remember. I don't even think it. Yeah,
like something basic.
Something basic.
Huh.
And it would like, because you don't want it to write out a fucking sentence, right? It was like a word, like one word answers, or one word questions, right? Or questions that would give you one word, or that kind of thing. You know, and it makes me mad because I probably should have talked to my dad and my mom before I did this fucking podcast to get more detail.
We can always.
I do remember talking to my dad just actually relatively recently, and him saying,
"Do they believe in that? Do your parents believe in that?"
Yes,
they totally believe in it.
Yes.
Oh, we should have had your mom on the podcast.
Well, I asked her, and she's like, "No."
Oh, it's too much.
No, it's not that. It's just that she's very what's the word I'm looking for? Not private, but she just doesn't.
Shy?
She doesn't like. Yeah, she just doesn't like.
We could have had her just hiding behind Barry alive. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bury him alive.
By the way, Barry, how you doing, boo? Barry.
Hey.
Barry. Okay, you gave him way too much drugs.
He's not even like blinking. What the fuck?
Okay. All right, we'll come back
Barry,
to Barry.
It's okay. It's okay, Barry. Just chill out. You're in a safe place.
You're in a safe place, Barry.
Yeah. Just let it roll, man. Let it roll.
Okay, so Flashing to the 1800s. So imagine this. Imagine, let your imagination run wild.
You don't
Close your
wanna say
eyes
that.
and listen. Okay. All right. A medium. Wait, I lost it again. Oh my God, I'm so retarded. What the hell is wrong
We were
with
just
me?
talking about this earlier.
Stupid.
The spirits don't want you to like.
What is it? What is it? Okay. Okay, here we go. A medium and the guest takes their seats on opposite ends of a small table.
Okay.
And they're each grasping a corner of an ordinary school slate. Which thus they hold firmly, pressing against the underside of the table. A small fragment of slate pencil is first enclosed between the slate and the table for the use of the spirit rider.
Ooh, sounds spooky.
Oh, you know, hold on, I have something for this. Something else I forgot.
I love this. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Should the seance be successful, a scratching sound, as if someone was writing on the slate, is heard at the end of a few moments. 3 loud raps indicate the conclusion of the message. And on the withdrawal of the slate is found to be a partially covered with writing, either in a general message, allegedly from the spirit world, or an answer to some sort of question previously written down by the guest. Now, how do you prove this is real? Not definitively for sure.
How do you prove it's real? Well, we can't really. But
So scientists have tried.
okay.
Okay, and there were some researchers that were led by a neuroscientist, Julio Perez, in the University of Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. And they were gathered by a bunch of Brazilian psychographers, and these are the people. These are legitimate people that could spirit write.
Oh,
They could
so that's what
literally
it's called, a
yes,
psychographer.
And
Okay.
they could do this for real, or writing mediums. They call them writing mediums.
Ooh, I like
as
that.
well. Okay, and so these he got all these people together, and they put themselves into a respective trance, which is how that that whole process. Which actually, if you've seen, what was his name, the guy that. The young guy, the medium, Tyler. If you've watched Tyler, he gets himself situated.
Yes.
Right? And he gives himself
Tyler
a moment.
Henry.
Tyler Henry, yes. He gives himself a moment, and then he connects, and he's listening, and right, there's a little bit of a process for him.
Yeah.
And so these spirit writers do the same thing. And they put themselves into this trance, which they claim allows the spirits to dictate words that they then relay into a piece of paper. Now, some psychographers claim to actually hear the words in which they are writing, while others say they're not consciously heard them at all, and which I said before, that's the two types. The one where they're actually guiding your hand,
Yes.
and one where they're not. And they let the spirits kind of guide their hand, or they hear the words and they write them down. So this group of mediums was comprised of 5 photographers and 5 less experienced cartographers, very experienced ones, psychographers, very experienced, not experienced. The experience level was determined by the number of years each medium had been transcribing spirit messages, as well as his or her average number of trances each month. So that's kind of how they gauged their experience in things.
Which makes sense.
Which makes sense. So, for example, the most experienced psychographer in the group had been transcribing for 40 years and averaged 16 trances per month, which equated out to about 7,600 trances, while the least experienced medium, on the other hand, had been working for about 5 years, 8 trances per month, which was about 480. So they tried to do this whole range of experienced psychographers. Okay?
Right.
All right, so the researchers were then each asked to go into a trance, channel a spirit, and begin transcribing the messages that the spirits gave them. When the mediums had been in a trance and writing for 10 minutes, the researchers injected a radioactive dye into their bloodstreams. Okay, and while it sounds
it
a little
sounds really
barbaric,
scary. Yeah.
yes,
Sounds like a great way to get cancer or something.
well, they say is a harmless dye.
Okay.
And it's the key ingredient in the what they call SPECT, SPECT, which is the single photon emission computerized tomography.
Okay.
And this is a brain scanning technique. And so the dye stops circulating very quickly once in the bloodstream, leaving a near perfect snapshot of the volume and extent of blood flow at the moment of injection. So this is them trying to
see where
figure
it's
out
coming.
when they're doing this trance, what is happening with the body and the blood and etc. So this injection allowed the researchers to take pictures of the medium's brains in a scanner 15 minutes later after the end of the trances to learn what regions of the brain had been most effective during the height of their psychotic experience. Well, I shouldn't say psychographic experience.
I guess it depends on where. I guess it depends on who you're talking to, because some people would say it's psychotic.
Hilarious. Okay, so each medium also had to simply write without going into a trance on a predetermined subject for a length of time. They had to create a what do they call that in science? A control point.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, again, the researchers injected dye to perform the scan to see what was happening in the brains when they were forced to write something. So in other words, Alicia, I want you to answer the question supercalifragilistic. And so your brain has to think, okay, I'm going to write this thing down.
Yes.
Whereas if you're in a trance and if something else is controlling you, you're not going to be processing the same way when you write. You're not going to be thinking about it. You're not going to be that kind of stuff.
Yeah, your brain's kind of turned off. And potentially, if you have a spirit who's guiding you,
yes,
they already know the question's going to be asked.
That's
so
right. You're not processing and thinking about, I'm going to write an A,
Yes.
a B, a C, a D, an E.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay, so then the writings were randomized, and they tried to do all of this stuff.
That's the scientific
This
term.
is the science,
term,
the
right?
stuff.
The stuff, yeah.
Yeah, they're doing the stuff. The scans focused on regions of the brain involved in the conscious focus of planning, linguistic skill. The writing typically depends on those mental functions, right? So because your linguistics,
You have to be
thinking about what you're writing.
Yep.
Yes. In the 6 different specific areas, hippocampus, all these
Areas in the
medical
brain.
terms that I do not understand. The experienced psychographers showed much higher levels of activity during normal writing than not, which makes sense because
their brains are
their
kind of
brains
turned
are
off. They're not
functioning
actually writing.
Exactly. So if normal writing, my brain's processing, I'm going to write these words.
Right.
Whereas when not doing that, my brain shouldn't be as active because I'm not the one controlling it. And in fact, they proved that it wasn't.
Oh, so there might be something more to this automatic writing.
Like legit.
Yeah. I like that.
So is the automatic spirit writing really just you or your soul or subconscious expressing itself? Like maybe a form of therapy, like you're really getting down into the root of yourself.
That's the thing that I consistently question is how much of this is actually you, like, we already know the answers. Maybe, for whatever reason. Like if we're asking the questions, what kind of dog am I going to get? I already know what kind of dog I want to get. So maybe I'm writing that. Or perhaps there's like a greater consciousness, and the consciousness is what is guiding the answers. So maybe we're all like almost plugged into the same, I don't know, what's a computer term?
Like a collective, like a Borg
like
collective.
a collective. Oh, Borg. Borg kind of scares the shit out of me, dude. You can't say Borg. Not a Borg collective. Maybe like a not
Something
ant
nice
colony.
collective.
Yeah. Where you have, you guys have all the answers, and you're kind of tuning into that. You hear people talk about it a lot, higher self or something, or higher consciousness.
Did you move that chair?
I just did, yeah.
Holy shit, that scared the F out of me, you bitch.
I'm always putting my foot, like my leg on the chair right next.
Oh my God, she moved her foot and watch. You see,
No,
it was doing that, and I'm like, oh my God, that's scary. Barry
It's
moved.
the spirits.
Barry.
Hey, Barry. You know what? He doesn't even have his mic up. Bro, come on.
He's not even, no, you just drug the shit out of him, I think.
Whatever. He's not.
He's out.
I thought he would be a little bit more limber or something. He's a little too limber. Okay, Barry, it's cool. Yeah. Just chill out.
Hang out, buddy.
You're in a safe place.
Hang out, buddy.
We're fine.
So what about what else? Mediums and tarot cards and stuff. What do you want to talk about now? Because there's other ways of communicating with spirits.
I don't know. You want me to go over to tarot cards? I could, or we could do mediums. What do you think?
Well, yeah, let's talk. Well, we were talking about Tyler, so let's talk about mediums for a second.
That sounds great.
So, full disclaimer again, I am 100% believer.
Yes.
In mediums.
And I'm a believer in that some people are. I don't think that everyone who labels themselves a medium or a psychic.
Without question.
Yeah, is actually.
Without question.
Okay.
Same
so
with spirit
we
writers, same with tarot card readers, same with anybody. I mean, you can claim to be it or do it or move a Ouija board, but
for real.
I just know that it exists. Let me just put it that way. That's what I believe. 100% they're able to connect with energy that most people don't understand or can't. That's really ultimately what I think it boils down to. Yeah. But here, I have an interesting question for you. I love
How
my
can
hair.
I turn?
How can I braid my hair?
You braid with 3 strands, not 2.
So my mom actually asked me this question the other day.
Okay.
And I thought it was very interesting. She said, are mediums listening and communicating with spirits, or are they actually communicating with the person, the energy from the person that they're connecting to?
Yeah.
Like,
that's a great question.
I think it is a great question.
If you're asking me that question, I think it's probably, I don't know, just like, I'll get into it a little bit later, but I kind of feel like this is a little bit more like it can be a form of therapy, right? Like a lot of people are seeking answers. And in a therapist's office, you're also seeking answers. And sometimes the answers come up in really random, ways. I'm in therapy because I don't know, red alert, I'm not darling, I know it looks
Show
like
me
I
a human
am.
that is.
But
I look perfect.
I might look perfect, but darling, I'm not. So like, you sometimes get like these breakthroughs or these like moments where, a word comes up or you have brain spotting, you're working with the brain and you can't really understand, like my therapist will say, hey, Alicia, like, this, you're really great at doing this and you get automatic answers. Maybe with another person, it takes a little bit more time. So it's not always the same thing. I think that in therapy, you have an exchanging of energies, and I could see that that's most certainly the case. I think in, maybe spirit communications, maybe it's working off of the energy of the person, and maybe the medium's more of like a vessel that like a telephone communication form that this person is able to kind of pick up the receiver and use. I don't know. I
don't know
think
either.
It's both. It's a great question. I think that the answer is probably both.
Could be.
Yeah.
Could be both.
Who knows?
Who knows? I wish I knew. I want to be one.
Yeah. Do you want to be one?
Yeah. I would love it.
You would love to be a medium?
Love it.
Oh, I don't know.
Love.
Really? Why?
Because I think that would just, it's fascinating to be able to connect with something that's not on this plane, that's not in this, like, that's beyond us. You know what I'm saying? That's beyond this.
Yeah.
And I think that's fascinating.
But then you have to deal with people, Kevin.
Well, so here's the problem too, is that I don't like people.
Yeah, exactly. You're not a fan of people.
Not a fan of people.
Which is so funny because I've only had great experiences with you.
Well, but I like some people, like you.
Okay, great. It would make this podcast a lot more awkward.
A lot better. Yeah, exactly.
So you would like hanging out with people and like answering.
But that's the thing. Like, can you shut it off? And that's what I hear sometimes with Tyler is that he can't shut it off.
I think that you get messages no matter what, and it's kind of like a nagging feeling that you can't really control.
That would be the total downside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, I have to go and talk
shut
to this
up.
person. Yeah, shut the fuck up. No. The answer is no. No means no, dude. I don't think the spirits care about no means no.
Exactly. So let's talk about, we're running a bit long. Let's talk about tarot.
Yeah.
Because tarot is another form of communication that I have also had experience with, because I've gone to tarot card readers before. My dad has gone.
Okay.
He's taken me with him.
Do you have good people here in Colorado?
I do not know who they are. It's been so long.
I would love to go to a tarot card.
Me too. Like a legit.
We should.
This is again the whole legit thing.
Yeah.
Like, how do you find the legit thing?
That's the hard thing. I mean, yeah. I have experiences with tarot cards as well. And I actually, I have a pack here. Yeah, that I actually brought.
And you had me before the show.
Mm-hmm.
You had me pick 3 cards.
I did. So towards the end of this podcast, I'm going to make sure that we go over the 3 cards and I give you the reading. So before we do, I'm just going to give you a little bit of a history because you know me, I'm a fucking nerd.
Let's talk about what it is.
Okay. So I don't really have a thorough enough knowledge to make a living or even a penny off of tarot card readings.
Mm-hmm.
But after the explanation of the history, I can try. I'm good. I already have read your card because I'm not very good, so I had to like pre-do it and see whether or not the spirits actually did work through me. So you're gonna have to tell us at the end of this video.
I will be totally honest.
So I don't know if you've seen like the tarot on the interwebs or even, but even like on YouTube or TikTok, you can do tarot pick-a-cards.
Oh,
have you heard of that?
That doesn't feel right. No, so answer is no, but I feel like picking something digitally isn't real.
Maybe there's a greater consciousness or something that's moving your hand and like you needed to hear the message. So it's a thing. It's a thing.
Okay.
It's a thing online.
Now I'm curious because I have to look at it.
Yeah. So I actually have my favorite in the show notes. I have one of my favorite dudes. It's he's called Aphrodite.
Okay.
And he even discusses like the depraved secret lives of celebrities and maybe like true crimes, like trying to solve true crimes through tarot cards. It's fucking ridiculous and hilarious.
Okay.
So you've never heard of it?
No.
Okay. Well,
not that. So it's like a digital version of tarot cards.
It is. Yeah. It's a digital
not
version.
Heard of that.
Well, I mean, it's still tarot cards. It's just a way to do it through like online means, so you're not
right.
in
Like so,
person.
because I can't literally feel the card and pick it.
Yeah. You can't feel the card.
That's why. Okay.
Or maybe you're called to a pile. I'll give you some links.
Yeah.
You'll have to tell us how you think. So.
Yeah.
Ultimately, before Miss Cleo's,
1-800.
The 1-800 world. It was really just a deck of cards. Tarot cards, as we know them, have a rich history, and I could talk for days, but I'm not going to. So I don't want you to get too spooked. Ultimately, it started in Italy, somewhere around the middle of the 15th century. You've played with like a deck of cards, like the bicycle deck of cards,
sure.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's actually just how these began.
Okay. Oh yes, because actually, let me interrupt you. Like I have been to a card reader who simply used a card of deck of cards.
Like a bicycle.
Like a
deck of
bicycle
cards.
deck of cards. And she had just written, like, the Ace of Spades was a whatever that would be.
Yeah.
So she had just written on that. And these were old. She like used them for fucking ever. But it was just a regular deck of cards.
Yes. And that's actually how they started, was a plain deck of playing cards. You know, you have 4 suits. You have a king, a queen, a knave, a knight / page. And the ace of each suit works as the 1. So each one of the cards have a numerical value with tarot cards. So people still actually use and play these cards as a standard set of playing cards in Europe, and they don't have any spooky connotations. It's like playing slapjack or whatever. You know, you're playing a normal game. You're not having any kind of ghostly communication. That's just how it works. But we both know that tarot cards, that's not how tarot cards are seen in the United States. And we really wouldn't be talking about them in the Bizarre AF episode, in our world, if that was the end of it. So buckle up.
Okay.
Have you heard of, you've had your tarot cards read? Did you find it to be pretty accurate?
Yes.
You did?
Yes.
Okay.
From what I recall, yes.
Okay, good to know. I've had my cards read too, and I think that it was pretty accurate. I want to believe so hard.
Yes,
but also I'm like,
do you like make things fit?
Oh, that's kind of how I feel. Maybe I'm more closed off, or I'm like, dude, I feel like I could have answered these questions myself. So why the fuck did I ask them?
Yeah, yeah. That's again, don't lose your place in the where I am going. But that's another reason why. Is it just psychology? Is it just getting into the depth of what you are, who you are?
I think that's a great question.
Yeah.
And I think that that's something that when we're looking at things, it means similar to, tarot cards, Ouija boards, like potentially it could be like a therapy session, and you could be getting answers that you already kind of knew.
Yeah.
But I do think that, whether you go to a therapist or you go to a medium, it's kind of the same. It could potentially be the same thing. Right. So actually the tarot cards, they tell a story of an epic journey. Were you aware of that? No. So it's actually the major arcana. So those are cards. Once again, every single card has a numeric value, which I'll show here. This one is this is one of the suits. So it's the Page of Swords, but every one of these have a numeric value. Let's see, in the Knight of Pentacles, and they don't, of course, mine don't necessarily. Anyways, they have. Yeah, there you go. There's one. They all have different numeric values. So the major arcanas, cards 0 to 21. My deck does not have all of the numbers on them. I should probably write them on there. But that outlines the Fool's journey. The Fool is actually symbolized as 0 or the beginning. So it's like each one of us as we begin life, we are starting from nothing and we're becoming something, right?
Okay.
I kind of feel like the tarot's calling me a fucking loser or a fool, and I'm not a huge fan of that. I'm nobody's fool, okay, tarot? Anyway, the Fool or us, we go on an epic journey that is life, and these major arcana actually give us a bigger picture of long-term direction. So any cards that you're bringing up that are telling the story of the Fool, it gives us like a more of a long-term direction or path in our life that you might experience in that foolish journey. So I hinted at it before, but I wanted to talk a little bit more about how technology has changed the medium of tarot. From Miss Cleo via 1-800 number or emailing a tarot reader back in the 90s. Today it's much easier to get a live or online reading, and so many people that you can actually get it from. Heck, you can go onto YouTube, like I was talking about, see celebrity gossip discussed via tarot readers. I was saying Aphrodite's one of my favorite ones. He's gonna be on the link in our show notes. He talks about like who killed Princess Diana, stuff like that. It's really funny and he's hilarious.
So is it a comedy or is it like real? Like
I think it's entertainment. But also I think that he's like he's had some situations and things that have actually turned out to be true.
Okay.
And he has like his predictions that had come true on his YouTube page. So if you go on there, you can see it.
Okay.
But now that we have an idea of how the cards work, I thought I'd let you choose those 3 cards since I'm not very good at this. You chose beforehand.
Yes.
And I didn't want to like sit there and like look online. Okay, what does this fucking card mean? What does this card mean? So I did it ahead, and I didn't want to bore you with the details. So we did a reading of the future.
Yes.
And it's 3 questions.
Oh, and by the way, can I just add that I found out that when you were doing this, that the this is one of the cards.
Yeah, that's the 8 of Swords.
That the direction in which you pull it, right? The direction in which you pull it is important.
It's very important. So when you pulled those initially, I said, did you pull it upright this way or is it reversed? Because the actual story of the card is completely different for each of the suits. They all symbolize different things. So if you have the reverse of it, it's or the upside down version of it, it's often the reverse of the meaning
of what it is.
Card.
Okay, got
it.
Mm-hmm.
So okay.
And one of mine was upside down.
It was upside down, yeah. So we actually had we did a future reading, and it's a 3-card draw. Really. So the first card, so it's 3 different questions, like what will help you in your future, what will hinder you, and what is your unrealized potential.
Okay.
So the first one is what will help you.
Yes.
And you pulled the 8 of Swords.
Yes.
So what will help you? So it's ultimately what this card is telling you from my interpretation, right?
Okay.
As Madame Leona, Madame Alicia, it's saying what's going to help you is understanding what your thoughts are. And your thoughts tend to be more limiting and you overthink. And you need to kind of get out of your head in order to be on the path that you need to be on. You need to get out of your head, let go of thoughts that are holding you back, and gain a new perspective. So instead of thinking the same way that you typically think, or you're like, oh, okay, well, this is exactly how it's going to happen, you have to be open and turn off those overthinking or limiting thoughts. So on this, I'm just going to show it. If you see the actual card itself, it looks like a woman who's tied up, and there are swords surrounding her. She's tied up. She has a blindfold on, and it's almost like she seems as if she doesn't have a hope, or she already knows that her fate is decided. She knows what she's going to be doing. If she just paid attention, there are ways for her to overcome her situation and to get past it, but she needs to change her perspective in order to do so. So what will help you is in changing your perspective. So you have to change your perspective, get a different thought process behind it. And that's the only way that you'll move forward with any certainty or any success, ultimately.
Okay.
You already have everything that you need. You just need to seek it out.
Got it.
And make yourself uncomfortable. You like that?
Yes. Right. I get that. That last sentence was important.
Make yourself uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, because she's already you've already decided what's going to happen. You already know what's going to happen, but that's not what is reality.
Yeah.
Reality and your situation are 2 totally different things. You need to turn off all those expectations and what you think you know and move forward. Okay. So what's going to hinder you? We had the reverse Queen of Wands. If you can see it. Oh, there we go. So ultimately what's hindering you, and it's really the same kind of message, which is why I was telling Kevin beforehand, I said, ooh, there's a real fucking clear message here for you.
Yes.
So you already know yourself on a deeper level. You know what you stand for. You're not easily swayed. You might be a little bit more introverted than typical, but you need to stop that. You need to stop that action, and because it's going to stop you and hinder you from success, from personal growth. So instead of understanding, once again, like knowing exactly who you are, what you stand for, etc., you need to realize that maybe you don't have all the answers. and know that, by getting yourself specifically like out of your shell, out of your norm, that's how you're going to grow. If you choose to not and to continue on the path that you're on, you're not going to have the growth that you're seeking.
Got it.
In the future.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So then we have your unrealized potential. So this is the 10 of Pentacles. And ultimately, the 10 of Pentacles, Pentacles have to do with money. Just a heads up. So your unrealized potential, ultimately, it's a very financially successful card. That's what the 10 of Pentacles is. It's like you're a provider, you're bringing financial security, you're stability, and you can actually help others through it. So your potential is you already have everything that you need, which is what these cards have been saying. You have everything that you need. You just need to get outside of your own head. And your unrealized potential is you can actually help others grow with their own financial stability and their own happiness as far as not having to worry.
Yeah.
So it really indicates that you feel compelled to share your success with others. So any success that you have is success that others should have. So that's your unrealized potential. Oh. You're a hard worker. You've worked hard to get where you're at, and you can really help, high tides, whatever that is, where all of us are on the same level and like the boats fucking come up, something about that. I don't know. Yeah. But if like everyone, if we have like rolling seas, you have one boat that's way higher and then one boat that looks like it's going to, be drowning. You have the ability to raise high tides, something about
I don't know that
ships.
Saying.
Oh, I don't know. I'm sure that whoever's listening is like,
high tides sink some ship.
Or like high tides like raise all ships.
Okay.
Or whatever.
Okay.
Or like make everything equal. So like you have the ability to make everything like other people equal. And that's a real gift. You have a financial like the ability to earn money and have success, financial success. And your potential is you're able to bring other people on that same level. Okay. And which is cool. I don't know.
Got it.
So I'm not very good at
I thought that was great. What's interesting, and so here's the other thing. I don't know if everyone can always relate to everything. I don't feel like that's actually. I'm going to take that back. I don't feel like other people sitting here could relate to that. So I don't think people could fit themselves into that. That's why I feel like there's. I mean, I could relate to it.
Was there anything that you're like, that's
could not
on?
Relate to it? No.
There was nothing you couldn't relate to?
No, there was nothing I couldn't relate to.
Interesting.
Yeah, it all seemed valid.
Okay.
Put it that way, or possible, or associated to me.
Oh my God, I was expecting you to be like, Alicia, you're so way
stupid. God, Alicia.
I don't know what I'm doing. You know how often I've touched these cards? Probably, 20 times. Which actually, that's kind of gets back to my point. I kind of think that tarot cards overall help us have a better understanding of ourselves and the world that we are in. I think that, I believe that some people are more intuitive and may have something that we can't really explain scientifically that makes them interpret like cards,
Well,
etc.
And let me just say this for sake of not validity, but I guess validity.
Okay.
And I'm not going to go into detail, but it's not like you're some street person who just picked up a tarot card and did it. There's other things that people don't know that I guess add validity to this. So I don't want people to think that they could just pick,
right.
Just go, oh, okay, so I guess I just go pick up some tarot cards and read a thing. I mean, there's more. I think there's more. I think people need to understand that. I think there is more to it. There is some spiritual connectivity that is occurring.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. There was before. Yeah. So when we were like doing the reading or beforehand, both of us had the deck out and we both were very intentional. Like, what is it that we're wanting to get out? We're trying to have this. So it takes two people, right? But yeah, I'm not going to go into detail about my stories, but I've had some stories where I cannot fucking explain. It makes no sense.
Yeah.
Do I think that that's individual to me? I think that everyone has the ability to maybe have a greater understanding of the world or the universe or the greater consciousness, whatever the fuck you want to call it, and help to interpret. Some people use cards. Some people use a Ouija board. Some people use automatic writing. It's still the same. It's potentially coming from the same source, which is a greater consciousness or understanding
of something. Yes, exactly.
And so it's just how can you kind of use that? And
That's right.
I really see this as an extension of something like therapy. So I do think that I fit the look for a tarot reader today.
Perfect connection.
But this was a really fun episode.
It was so good.
I know.
I had such a good time today. And again, I'm not going to get into details, but I do think you have you have an energy.
Thanks.
Yeah, I'm excited about it.
Yeah, I'm excited too. This was really fun.
I think we can explore that more as we go
forward. Yeah. As you continue to listen.
Yeah.
As we continue to explore the world of the Bizarre AF.
That's right. All right. Thank you for a fun show.
Thank you too.
Happy Halloween, everybody.
Happy Halloween. And
oh my God,
have to get this
Barry.
sad sack
I have
over
to
here.
carry Barry out.
Barry, you've had way too much to drink. Don't trust me.
Barry. All right. Thanks again, Alicia.
Thank you, Kevin.
All right. Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.